I'm involved in the community by co-founding and directing a nonprofit reading program. And maybe people don't realize, but reading struggles and low reading scores is actually a women's issue. That's because when our kids aren't learning, it's moms that are sitting around the kitchen table after school doing homework, watching their kids struggle. I had a child who couldn't learn to read, and it was pretty dramatic. I spent a lot of time listening to people who were experts tell me that there was not a problem, that I was a nervous mother, and it got to the point that he was in his second year of first grade at the end of the year, and he was still completely illiterate. And so I called for a private tester, a psychologist, and was pretty powerful because she took him in for testing, and the testing was to take place over a period of days, 2 hours at a time, and after 20 minutes she came out of the room. And I had my magazine in the waiting room. I was a little confused, and she said, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something because I know this has been a long haul for you, but your son, I can already tell, is dyslexic, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be severe. And I told you before that there'll be a couple of weeks before I'm going to be able to score these tests and give you the results, but you're going to need to get busy." And then she took me by the shoulders and she said, "Listen to what I'm going to say to you. You have wasted a lot of time listening to other people. From now on, this day forward, trust your women's intuition. You knew something was wrong. You're his mother. Trust your instincts." And that's how it all started. Well, I sort of inadvertently started a business because his progress and success was so dramatic. He went from below the first percentile in reading to, within a period of 12 weeks, to the 92nd percentile in reading. And nobody was more surprised than I was. But what ended up happening is not only did his school ask me for help, but I started to be inundated with requests from other mothers who were struggling and suffering just like I had. And I say suffering because if you're a mom, when your child is suffering, I actually believe it's worse for you because you feel the pain that they feel, but you also have tremendous guilt because you can't help, you can't fix it. And then there's the added horror of being able to look into the future and know just how difficult it's going to be to live a successful life when you can't read. There just aren't any job descriptions out there that say requires little to no reading. It just doesn't happen. So when women started coming to me and asking me for help, I tried pointing them in the right direction. Some of them turned out to be dyslexic themselves, and so it just became easier to help kids. I ran into a great mentor, and all of a sudden, I was in business. I've had so many mentors. Maybe some are women who don't even know that I was watching them, so maybe they would fall more into role models. If I had to pick one, I would say that the mentor is the woman who published the reading program that I use. She is incredible. First of all, she's brilliant, and she wrote a system that could deliver a very complex program that used to require a 3-year stay for summers for only teachers, and put it into a package that a mom who even herself is dyslexic can use. And she is, she's pretty famous actually, and I have access to her. If I call her, she answers the phone personally. She'll talk to me. I call it the C&C. She compliments me and criticizes me. And when you're on a path that you didn't expect to walk, both of those things are really, really important. The best advice probably is be excellent. Know your stuff and don't give up, because doors are going to be slammed in your face, but if you have a passion and that you know that you're right, just approach it from a different direction. Just keep going. I just recently had a little girl at McKinley Elementary who is pretty straightforward with me, 6 years old, and told me that she knew she was not going to be able to read and that I was just plain crazy, is the word she used. We work together, and initially we work on something called phonemic awareness, so there are no letters. And we're actually activating neural pathways between the speech center of the brain and the posterior reading systems of the brain to get that part to work. And when we're done with that portion, we know that the children will read. And so when that day came, I said, "Today you're going to read," and she said, "You're crazy. I can't read." And I said, "But you're going to read. Just trust me." I put the sheet of words in front of her, and sure enough, she could read. And I watched transformation take place. She's a pretty tough little kid. The next thing I said is, "Now you're going to take a spelling test." Well, that is about the worst thing for a dyslexic that you can imagine, and she wasn't going to get to study. And she told me again, you're crazy. That, I don't know why I could read, but I am not going to be able to spell. And sure enough, I was happy to put a gigantic 100 on her spelling test. And she looked at me, and it was like electricity went through her body. And she said, I did it. I can read. I can read. And then she said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this. And then she said, yes, I do. Can I hug you? Aren't you jealous? Yeah. So that happens all the time in my job. Love it.